Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Streaming December 12th on Peacock. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are back
That's hot. Loves it.
for a show-stopping reunion that will prove putting on an opera is anything but simple.
We're really good at this.
One thing's for sure, they won't be upstaged.
Good to have you back. Come on, we've got a show to do.
Paris and Nicole, The Encore, a 3-part reunion special, streaming December 12th, only on Peacock.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what legends have found. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Hang Out. I'm Ellie Brigida.
And I'm Lee Holmes Foster, and here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. And we want to remind you of our Season 5 Patreon campaign, which you can join at bit.ly/lespatreon. Once we get to 150 patrons, we will start releasing bonus episodes for all of you. There are also a bunch of really fun things in between. We're going to try to be doing a virtual house party for all of our patrons where you can hang out in Zoom with us. We did this for my birthday party and it was really fun, where we had like a room where you could play drinking games, a room where you could play Jackbox games, a room where you could just hang out and chat. So it did actually feel like you were at like a real house party where you could go into wherever you want.
You all don't want to miss Zoom Flip Cup. It's an experience.
It is. It's wonderful.
Speaking of an experience, we're also going to have another great experience coming up, which is the opportunity to watch us and Bad Queers break down Rent live on Zoom. It's going to be incredible. We're so excited. We can't wait. If you heard our episode with Bad Queers, you know that we talked about musicals and whether you're a bad queer if you do or don't like musicals. So we're gonna dive into, you know, some deep feelings on how we all feel about Rent, the movie at least. We're gonna be watching the movie, okay?
Can't wait. If you want to see us live, minus Lee, very, very sad, you can see
Tear.
You can see parts of the Let's Hang Out team in the Flame at Klexicon. That's October 8th through the 10th in Vegas. We are so excited to meet some of you there.
We also are going to have so much fun trivia coming up. So again, we're going to be doing spooky queer trivia for Halloween. So coming up on October 26th and October 30th, we're going to have all sorts of questions from some of our favorite spooky and horror movies. We're very excited. And tell us about our next trivia event after that, Ellie.
I'm so excited. So we're going to be hosting Orphan Black Trivia with Realm. Realm are the producers of the Orphan Black podcast with Tatiana Maslany, which is so cool. Tatiana will not be joining us for trivia, unfortunately. However, we'll be there for trivia.
She'll be there in our hearts.
She'll be there in our hearts. She'll be there all over the PowerPoint. And we're going to be doing that on November 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We cannot wait. In the greater Les universe, can I talk about this?
I feel like we're about to have a mini episode.
It really got me fired up. We are going to talk for a while about this. So in the greater Les universe, we heard recently that Raven Simone turned down Raven Baxter being a lesbian in Raven's Home. So Raven's Home is the reboot of That's So Raven. It is very, very gay, even if Raven Simone thinks that Raven Baxter is not gay. We'll get into that. But here's what she said, and I'll just let her quote speak. Raven said, "You know what? There was a conversation before the series started, and I was asked the question, would you like Raven Baxter to be a lesbian? And I said no," Raven revealed. The reason I said no wasn't because I wasn't proud of who I was or I didn't want to represent the LGBTQ plus community in any way. It was because Raven Baxter is Raven Baxter is Raven Baxter. There was no reason for me to change the human that she was in order to fit the actress that played her. And Raven Baxter is a character that I was proud to play. Even if she is straight, cisgender, I don't mind. Let her have her moment. Thoughts, Lee?
Incorrect. Incorrect. Listen, we totally should have just done an episode about this. We might still.
We might.
What I'm
we
gonna
probably
say,
will. Whenever we do Raven's Home Should Have Been Gay, we will have a whole
So
talk
let
about
me
this.
let me very concisely say my feelings about this as short an amount of time as I can, which is it would have been super meaningful for many people of like our generation to have seen Raven grown up and coming out. That's a big deal. That's like a touch point that people can relate to. And also it is really important to have QPOC people on our screens. And this would have been a great opportunity to have that played by a QPOC actress. That's it. That's my thoughts.
My final thought is Raven Baxter is Raven Baxter is Raven Baxter is Raven Baxter was straight when she was in high school. It's like years later. Like you can people can evolve and change, and like it wouldn't have been a disservice to the character of Raven Baxter to make her gay. She already is gay.
Not only would it not have she is gay. Not only would it not have been a disservice to Raven Baxter the character, it is a disservice to people, to anyone who comes out later in life, to pretend like that is not a thing that can happen. Yes. And that's an incredibly like subtle but harmful thing that's happening in that quote. So that's all. We'll leave it at that.
I'm like, sorry, I just want to say one thing. I will also say that I do understand what she is saying of like, as an actor, she doesn't have to, all of her characters don't have to be gay because she is gay. But I do feel like it was such a great opportunity for her to say like, okay, she doesn't have to be, but if she can, that's cool. That's all. All right, our next thing. Here we go.
I'm keeping all my thoughts inside.
Have you seen this music video? So
I haven't yet. I've seen some of the screenshots from it, though.
Muna and Phoebe Bridgers recreated But I'm a Cheerleader in their new music video for Silk Chiffon, which is one of their new singles. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Also, watch as many videos as you can of Muna live because holy crap, it's a good show. I love this music video. It's like, it does such a perfect job, in my opinion, of like paying tribute to the movie and just like being a bop. It's very good.
I'm going to check it out. I'll check it out as soon as we're off tonight because I've seen people posting about it all day and I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, it's so good.
Amazing. That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
Thanks, Ellie and Lee, and welcome to our 68th installment of Should Have Been Gay.
Oh, it was fun, it was great, but it should have been a little more gay.
And in this week's episode, women are fair game.
Women are fair game. And we are
fair game.
We are so excited to be talking about Gunpowder Milkshake today with Charlie Jane Anders. Hey, Charlie, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. This is just so awesome. I love your podcast. It's so great to be here.
We're really excited to have you. For those of you listening, Charlie Jane Anders is the author of Victories Greater Than Death, the first book in a new young adult trilogy, along with the forthcoming short story collection, Even Greater Mistakes. She's also the author of Never Say You Can't Survive, a book about how to use creative writing to get through hard times. I love that. Have you been using creative writing to get through these hard times, Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, every single thing in the book is me practicing what I preach. And in fact, I wrote that book throughout 2020, which was a time when I definitely needed a lot of, I needed a lot of help from my imagination and through like my kind of storytelling brain to just keep myself in one piece during like a really, really rough year. Really, and this year has been also really rough, I got to be honest. So, those essays are kind of me reminding myself as much as anybody else of like how you can kind of get into your own imaginary world and use it to kind of survive really tough stuff, really scary stuff in the real world.
I love that. And I know a lot of our listeners can really identify with that, I am sure. And I love, the idea of using your creativity to get through it all. We are here for that as well. With, creating an entire musical during a pandemic.
Right. I'm excited about the musical. I listened to the episode where you introduced it, but I haven't actually listened to the musical yet.
You're in for a ride.
Exciting.
Yeah, we've found keeping busy helps us, I think.
For sure.
Get through all the times, right?
For sure.
Yes. But we are here to talk about some other creative writing, I guess. Good segue, Ellie.
I was gonna say some other ways to get through hard times, like killing everyone. We each have our segues, Ellie.
I like yours better. But do you want to do our IMDb synopsis, Lee? I'm really excited for this one.
I do because already I have so many questions. So, for anyone who hasn't yet watched Gunpowder Milkshake, it's on Netflix. Here is the IMDb synopsis. 3 generations of women fight back against those who could take everything from them. Question mark?
What are your
I
What are your
say?
questions? What are your questions of
My
this?
my question is, who are the 3 generations supposed to be? Is are the aunts counting as one generation,
I
and then
think
they're considering the rest of them, or is Emily
Emily
the
is
last
definitely
generation?
the third generation.
I think the little girl is the new generation, the next generation, kind of.
I
And
just
then-
feel like they're like, it's a lot of lumping. It's a lot of lumping. There's some lumping women together that's happening for me in this IMDb synopsis.
And yet not enough lumping women together in this actual film.
Wow, you nailed it. Nailed
Point.
it, Ellie.
You are welcome for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I have some thoughts on the synopsis and on the movie, but we'll get into those. First, let's all do our gay synopsis. So, who should start? Charlie, do you have a gay synopsis ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, basically, there is a secret society of hot older ladies who live in a library, which is the greatest thing ever. And that's where they live, I guess. They spend all their time there, except for when they go to a diner where there's like magical milkshakes that keep you from killing people most of the time. And so these ladies have this awesome library society, and they're clearly shacking up together, but all they want to do is help Karen Gillan kill a bunch of dudes for reasons.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. The all-important reasons.
4 reasons. All right, here's mine. It's short and sweet. So, and forget about the 3rd generation of women in this, right? Not the youngest generation. 3 generations of queer women take down the patriarchy and go down on each other.
That's the movie I wish I'd watched for sure.
Right? That's
Okay,
that's that for me.
I think I went to like a slightly more critical, depressing place in my gay synopsis this time, Ellie. I'm not sure what that says about this, but my gay synopsis for this movie, I think, is not even in a world that seems to contain only bisexual lighting and polyamory are we safe from bury your gays.
Yeah.
Point.
That's
Point.
That's gonna be my synopsis.
I mean, you buried the lead there. I mean, you spoiled the entire ending at the beginning.
I'm so sorry.
But
Go watch the movie. I have nothing to say for myself.
I do agree. I mean, yeah, we should definitely talk about the barrier gaze. But so let's talk. What was our experience with this film? Charlie, you had some thoughts before we logged on. So what was your experience with Gunpowder Milkshake?
You know, I feel like there's almost 2 movies there. There's like the movie that just wants to be kind of like an homage to like Zack Snyder and Guy Ritchie and other random action directors of like the last 20 years, and it's just kind of serving up kind of lukewarm action movie beats in like a very kind of here, we put these in the microwave for 15 seconds, hope you like it kind of thing.
With women. We just sprinkled some women on top.
Right. And then there's the other movie, which is a movie about like the secret society of ladies living in a library and having guns hidden inside books. I have so many questions about that. Do all the books have guns in them?
Yes.
Do some of the books just have like books? Like at one point she hands her a book that's just for reading. So I don't know. But anyway, so they live in a gun library, which I think is kind of fun. And like, there's all this stuff that we just kind of glimpse that's so interesting and cool and awesome that we never get to see because we have to spend most of our time, with, watching Karen Gillan fight random dudes and be chased by, and having random dudes sit around talking about how they're going to kill Karen Gillan. And like, it's like, no, just more of the ladies in the library, please. Just explain that to us.
Please and thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. Gosh.
Just a whole movie about the aunts. That's all we need.
Yeah,
For
I
sure.
do feel like that's a huge reason why we have to have this shit about gay, right? Like that was the biggest missed opportunity in this entire movie of like, okay, so you have all of these hot women in suits who clearly have slept together and are like, yeah, like are madly in love with each other. And yet we just get like a handhold between them and we only get like one fight scene with them. Like we know nothing about them besides like they raised this girl and probably like Anime and Scarlet had a thing, but like you'd blink and miss it,
I mean, there's
right?
like
They
at
all
one
had
point,
a
like,
thing.
Michelle Yeoh kisses Carla Gugino on the cheek, and it's just this like, oh, okay, wait, oh no,
Yeah.
it was like
Yep.
Lucy in the football.
Exactly.
That's why I'm saying this is it's funny, we're recording this like right after, I think yesterday for Autostraddle, Drew Gregory wrote a great article about like as can queer creators like kill queer characters in the stuff that they're creating, and like what an important question and discussion, and like obviously the answer is yes, but then you look at this movie and you're like, and this is why dudes shouldn't. This is why what I'm assuming are two straight dudes who wrote this movie shouldn't do this, because you wrote like very obviously gay characters and then gave us no information on them, none of their stories, no characters, no nothing, and then kill one of them for no purpose other than to, I guess, further the plot, maybe. But this is just like heavy-handed bury your gays. This is all it is. I'm like, there's not much else going on. We can get into the argument of like, is it canon gay and therefore does it? This is bury your gays. Come on.
I agree.
Wait,
Textbook example.
Also,
of
when
bury your gays.
I'm sorry, when you were talking about the writers, I was like, wait, let me see who the writers are. Like, what do they look like? They look at the like two of the men trying to kill her. Like they like are bald, have huge beards. I'm like, what?
It's for sure two dudes, and I don't know anything about them as writers or anything about their lives, but I'm projecting onto the universe these are two straight dudes. I refuse to believe otherwise.
It hurts me
Seems very
so
likely.
badly to see their faces, actually. Like, it actually is giving my heart palpitations.
What makes me sad?
It's a lot, and that's because here's the thing. I want to believe. I mean, again, I know nothing about these men. I'm sorry, men. No, I'm not. But I know nothing about these men. I want to believe in my heart of hearts that they sat down and said, "We're gonna write a cool, kick-ass women's action film, and we're gonna have women, and they're gonna have guns, and they're gonna like take down a whole army with just them, and she's gonna do all these cool fights, and it's gonna be awesome. She's such a cool assassin." But instead, what happened is I feel like they wrote a whole movie of like, let's write a movie where men ruin women's lives repeatedly and endlessly and violently. And I'm like, well, you did do a great job writing that movie. Yes. A+ work, boys. Like that's what we got. Yay? I guess.
What makes me sad is that I feel like there's been kind of only recently have we gotten to have like action movies where there's more than one woman in it. Like it used to be that like even if the woman was the ostensible lead, there would only be one woman in the movie. There'd be like the first Wonder Woman movie is a great example of that. There are a bunch of others which came out in the last like 10, 15 years where it's like one awesome kick-ass lady and a bunch of dudes. And like all her friends are dudes, all her like the Old Guard comes to mind as an example of that. Like, there's basically like Charlize Theron and then all her dude friends. And then I guess there's one lady who joins them who is like who Charlize Theron does not hook up with, or maybe she does. I can't remember actually now.
I don't think she does, because
doesn't.
she had that whole love story. Like, she's
Right,
like
she
tortured
does.
and in love. Like, she literally, I don't think she hooks up with anyone in the film because she's still in love
Right.
with this woman from like 500 years ago.
Right. That's right. It's coming
Very
back to me now.
gay.
But there's this trend of like, until recently, like you could have one lady in an action movie and then everybody else is just kind of, it's all dudes, all cis dudes. And like, I feel like now we've started getting these more action movies where there's like a group of kick-ass ladies teaming up. Like, Harley Quinn comes to mind, Widows. There's been a bunch of them in the last couple of years. But
Charlie's
even aside
Angels.
from Charlie's Angels, well, yeah, I actually really liked the Charlie's Angels reboot with Kristen Stewart. I thought that was actually pretty good. And, Kristen Stewart definitely brought some queerness to it. But in general, you don't get to see the kick-ass ladies having like much in the way of relationships and definitely not much in the way of romance. Like they
Yeah.
just all they could do is kind of pout at the camera, and then often random dudes who are on the sidelines get more development than the ostensible leads of the film. which,
Yep.
you know, is
Yeah,
just,
and at least to
yeah.
be fair, no one in this movie got any development. There was very little of it to go around. So I don't think that it doesn't feel like they did a ton of like developing the men over anyone else. It just feels like none of the characters were super fleshed out. You know, at least for me, the reason I feel so like cheated by that is I'm like, they're so obviously all gay. So
Yeah.
can we talk a little bit about how gay everyone is? I don't know who we want to start with, or if you had anyone specific, Charlie, that you wanted to dive into first, because I feel like we're gonna have some thoughts.
I mean, Angela Bassett for sure, like Anna May, her outfits are amazing in this movie, and she's just like, she's got such a powerful kind of like alpha dyke vibe in that film
Oh
that
God, yes.
it was very disappointing that, you know, like again, any kind of relationship developing, even if it wasn't like overtly romantic, would have been really welcomed. I do have to push back slightly on what you said a moment ago. I feel like the movie kind of like in its heart really cared about Paul Giamatti. Like Paul
Is
Giamatti,
that
like we
wait? Is that
really
Yes.
kind
Is
of
that
like,
Nathan?
That's Nathan.
yeah, Nathan. It
Yeah.
was like the movie really thought that Nathan was a super fascinating character who we should like, you know, his struggles with like how he's gonna like how he has to throw Karen Gillan under the bus. I felt like he got like in some ways, I don't know, but I agree that nobody
I
really
mean,
got much
he
development
did,
in
but
that
you
film.
still don't know why. Who is he? What is his story? What is the firm? What does he do? How
Well,
did he
yeah.
end up with being such an important part of Scarlett's life that she like left her daughter with him? Like, you still don't get any of the who are you and why do you matter in this story kind of development. Like,
Points.
no one gets that, you know? So
Points.
I agree. I mean, I think in terms of characters who have any real weight in the story, he certainly gets a decent amount for playing like a pretty minimal role, but I still don't feel like I know anything about him, you know, or why he cares about her, or how he like. There's so many very
There's honestly
unanswered
too many questions. I think too,
Yeah.
I'm sure Charlie, you probably have lots of thoughts about like the world building in this as an author yourself.
Yeah.
Like the world building is very like they just tried to build too many things that like they didn't get deep enough on because they just spent it on action sequences, right? Like, why can't you use a gun in the diner? What's the relevance?
Until you can.
until you
apparently.
can, yeah, until they all show up with their guns and none of the army of thugs notices them. It's
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
very it's
it's
a little weak.
clunky.
We know this.
I'm gonna give it a clunky at best.
But back to the gay. So
back to anime's like excellent suit and vest combo. Like, yeah, we could just
Oh
I
my
could talk about that
God.
for a while.
I mean, should we just talk
Everybody's
about the outfits?
crazy for a sharp dressed lady, you know? Oh my God. That was the fashions in this movie were genuinely pretty great. I gotta say, whoever was the costume designer was on point. And,
Yeah.
And
And
the
gay.
sets were just gorgeous. Like, there were some gorgeous sets, like the library sets. And like, when they go into the other parts of the library and suddenly there's like
And gay.
dioramas, there's like, oh, here's the undersea diorama. Here's the
Yeah.
like weird forest diorama. It's like, oh yeah, of course, their library /
Museum.
armory also has dioramas, because why wouldn't you in, a gun library?
Yeah.
I felt like a lot of stuff in this movie was really kind of motivated by what would look cool, but it's
Maybe that's another good point of something I will give them credit for, because what you were just talking about before, Charlie, about like what we tend to get in a lot of the like female fronted action films. I will say we did not have a whole troupe of like scantily clad, like boobs hanging out, jumping around in a little Speedo, killing men. Like they're in reasonable like pants,
True.
suit vests. I'm into it. I'm into the bowling jacket. Like, they all look like the kind of women that I'm like, sure, I could believe you convincingly like run around and, just massacre scores of men in that outfit. Why not? Yeah, you got, perfectly serviceable shoes, and like you're not running around in high heels and a thong like doing this. So A plus, yes, to the costume team. But also they're so gay. They're all in button downs, they're all in vests. She's in her little blazer. I'm so here for it. Like, even Carla Gugino's character Madeline, she's got the cute little
She's
sweater.
so cottagecore.
So adorable.
She's so cottagecore, but even she's in pants, like they're all in practical clothing. So good for them. I will give them that, because I did enjoy seeing women where I'm like, yeah, those are your, sure, you're all lesbians and that's what you wear to run your little murder library. I buy it.
I want to talk a little bit about the backstory that we didn't get, but that I feel like we all can assume, and I know they wanted to imply, but coming from a should have been gay perspective, I'm like, okay, you wanted to imply it, but like straight people would not get it. So like if straight people won't get it, it's not gay enough. That's my like main thing.
Yeah.
But the
very good
backstory that
rubric.
they clearly were trying to do, right, is like when Scarlett comes back, also shout out to Lena Headey, because, we love her because Imagine Me and You and just everything. Also, has anyone seen Twist? It's a very, very new movie, but she plays Bill Sykes in like an Oliver. It's like a twist on Oliver Twist, and she is Bill Sykes.
Oh.
Interesting.
And she is also with Nancy, so like she's gay in it. It was interesting.
Amazing.
We could talk about it another time. Sorry.
I want to see that.
But I've seen so many. I'm happy that Game of Thrones is over, because now, like, she can do all of these things, right? Like, we're going to see her so much more on our screens, and it makes me really happy. Sorry, that was a side. But clearly the backstory, because Anna May was the most pissed out of everyone that she left, right? Like,
right.
Most pissed. She's the one who like takes like the front line when Scarlett comes into that library, and she's like, you left us, but like you left me, is like the heavily implied gayness that we see there. And then like the other two, Florence and Madeline, are clearly also together. But Lee, you think it's a poly situation?
Well, okay, here's the thing. I am so fascinated by this. Is why I wish they had just made the whole movie nothing but this, because I'm like, I want the backstory, I want the dynamics, I want more of their interactions, because I agree there is clearly something between Florence and Madeline, like for sure, 100%. There is also clearly something between Anna May and Scarlett, but at the same time, when they do that little, like a flying duck V with Anna May at the front to have that conversation with Scarlett, the first person that Scarlett talks to is, she says that she has this little moment and she goes, hi, Madeline. And Madeline goes, hi, Scarlett. And they like share a very pointed look there, right? Like something is happening. And then there's also the moment where Florence like has to calm Anna May down, and they're like having that whole moment of like, she's like miming like breathing to her, and they're sharing this moment. So like, I want to know, I just want a whole movie about their relationship, because I have to imagine there was some sort of like either like poly quad that was like based around like two primary couples that were all sort of also together, or I don't know what, or they had like a throuple originally that like Scarlett was then like joined into somehow and then like dropped. I don't know, but I want to know. That's the whole point. There's more going on than just Florence and Madeline and Scarlett and Anna May. That's all I'm saying.
And it really feels like they were co-parenting, like the Karen Gillan character, who's I don't remember the names of any characters. I'm sorry, but they were co-parenting her. They all act like Sam is their collective daughter, and like they're all kind of her parent figures. And like, I kind of just picture the four of the older ladies just being kind of like some kind of group marriage / poly. You might be right. It's two couples who kind of like sometimes cross over between each other, but I feel
there
like
was some sort of overlap, some level of overlap. It's unclear what.
But it makes you wonder, because like, why would, Scarlett leave Sam with like Nathan when, the other three moms were right there? Like, she has three other moms who could have
Well,
totally
and
taken
she
care
has
of her.
3 other moms who are like murder machines.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's the other thing that I don't understand about the whole plot in a general sense, is it's like, I couldn't leave you with the aunts at the murder library. It wasn't safe. And I'm like, you had, like, some ragtag team of random Russians that was mad at you, and instead, now you have, like, this entire army from some other secret organization that we never know the name of or what they do,
Oh, the
and apparently we
McAllister
just
people or whatever.
yeah, they don't even have a name. Like, we don't even know who they are. We just know they sound like they're supposed to be scarier than whoever was after you 15 years ago, and now you're just like, cool, we're going to wipe the floor with them because we are unstoppable murder women who nobody can touch, and like no dude can ever like lay a finger on us. And so it wasn't safe then, but this is fine. We're just gonna like waltz in with no plan and 80 dudes after us. The whole thing feels a little stretched for me. So
I understand what you're saying. However, I think you could also think about it like she didn't want to leave her with the moms because she loved them so much. And she was like, it's not safe in the way that like she knew that Nathan was honestly like more part of the people who were hunting her. And if she left her daughter with the moms at the library, they would also be in danger. So maybe her thought was like, let me save my lover and my child. I don't know.
It feels like a little bit of a stretch. Any way we're gonna paint it, I think my response is gonna be, was it though?
You're right. So we just cut Nathan
I
out
have to
completely.
agree with Lee. I'm just like, the more I think about it, the more that bugs me, because it's like, especially if Scarlett didn't want Sam to follow in her footsteps and work for the firm, which, by the way, is reminding me of like a terrible like early 90s workout video that my ex used to watch all the time. If Scarlett really didn't want, Sam to work with the firm, why hand her daughter over to the guy who's in charge of like recruiting for the firm instead of these other ladies? And this actually brings me to other questions that are now bugging me. Like, what do Anime and the others do for money? How do they afford this giant building with all this incredible stuff and like
Well, it
a
sounds
huge...
like they sell people guns, right?
But they actually are super, when Sam shows up and says, I want to get some guns, they act all like, no, we don't sell guns. No.
Well, they act like they don't sell guns to people they don't know already, like that don't come with a referral or that they don't have like a prior relationship with. But also, how do you not recognize, like, how do you have a random unattached like murder woman with red hair walk in and like not a single one of you is like, oh, are you our daughter?
But Lee, they couldn't see her hair, the hat.
So
it was
true.
The
She
hat.
didn't have the hat.
It was the hat.
Silly me for getting the hat. Yeah. Can we wait? I'm sorry. While we dig in on this hat, can we talk about Sam a little bit? Because the obvious gay, right? Like the obvious gay are the aunts and Scarlett and whatever is happening between the 4 of them. Like we all see it, ladies. There's something going on. But I want to talk about Sam and how clearly, like, the very opening sequence of this movie is they just I swear they don't know that lights that are not blue and pink exist to light a scene. Every scene with her, the diner starts out with bisexual lighting. The bowling alley, all bisexual lighting. Like, she is constantly backlit in blue and pink this entire movie, and I'm like, it's the year of our Lord 2021. No one is making that choice without knowing what they're doing. Come on.
I'm ashamed to admit I hadn't really thought about it like that, but you're totally right. Gosh, she's just like a bisexual light follows her wherever she goes. She's just like, she's got a halo, a bi halo.
A bisexual halo. That's it. And the whole movie, like, I mean, name a man that she talks to in the movie that she doesn't kill. It's just, it's like, come on. There's some things happening in this movie. Like, she's an independent woman who doesn't need a man and has nothing but bisexual lights following her around, and is just like, I'm just gonna casually tase this guy in the balls. That sounds like fun. Like, I don't think Sam is the straightest character I've ever seen in my life. Let's put it that way. Oh, and then that comment of women are fair game. Come on.
I did.
Come on.
I did love that quote.
She has an I Heart Kittens bag. Like, come on.
I feel like I wrote other gay
She
things,
gay.
but I can't remember.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed, just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/leshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/leshangout.
Let's hang out.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
remember. It was more about when Scarlett's talking about anime. Sorry, I'm like just like quotes. When Scarlett is talking about anime in the like flat, she specifically calls out anime before the others. She says, I knew anime and the others from work. Like the first person she talks about is anime. And then she says, she and the others took us in best years of my life. So I still can't get over like they completely missed out on telling that's like, why didn't they just start with that story? Like that should have been the first film that they made. I want a prequel, but also like, why didn't you just start there?
Yeah, and then you could get emotionally invested in Madeline before they just kill her for no reason.
Literally no reason.
Literally none. And also, it's frustrating. I'm super frustrated by the fact that they also had her die from just like one random dude. Like, everyone else in this movie is like, oh, 6 guys coming at me with guns, NBD, I have chains. And then she's like, I have a literal, like, mounted machine gun, but one guy's gonna get a lucky shot in. And you're just like, I hate this. I hate it. It just felt, everything about it felt heavy-handed.
What are your thoughts on the bury your gaze in this, Charlie?
I mean, I feel like they wanted to kill someone in that giant climactic scene to sort of the usual reason you kill like a character we care about is just to be like, now it's really, this proves that there's real stakes or whatever, or and it just it felt very, I don't know, it felt very unearned, and also like we didn't get to know that character well enough for her death to have an impact. And it felt like maybe because she was the femmiest of them. She was the femmiest. She had that kind of like, cottagecore outfit or whatever you all were saying. And so she was the one who had to die because everybody else is a little bit more butch, I guess. I don't know. It felt very...
The audacity of those writers.
How
dare you?
I was not pleased. I was not pleased at all. I was like, come on. Like, this is a fantasy world. She could easily survive, like, whatever. Like, even though I felt like she was shot in the heart and then kept fighting for another 20 minutes.
Yes.
So that is impressive. It's impressive to be shot actually through the heart and then fight for another, like, 15, 20 minutes. That's, you got to hand it to her. But I definitely felt like, after that kiss between her and the Michelle Yeoh character, I was really kind of hoping that this was going somewhere. And then it just felt like, she dies. They kind of like have a very quickie, rushed funeral for her, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's whatever. Now we got to go get the little girl.
Well, and the thing is, it's pointless, and that's the biggest thing that I hate in a bury your gaze is like, if it's a bury your gaze and there's not even a reason for it. Like, it feels like they were trying to lean too hard into, oh, she got shot and that's how he managed to grab Emily. Like, there are a million other ways that you could have had him get the girl, right? Like, he could have gotten Emily any number of ways. You just have her like, oh, I sent her to carry this to the car and he was hiding on the side of the car and he just grabbed her and ran. And like, that's good enough. You don't have to kill her for Emily to get kidnapped in that scene. There's no need for it, and it changes nothing else. They don't even linger on it. They're just like, oh, she's just gonna cradle her body in the back of the truck, and then they bury her, and then I guess they're gonna go fight the same guys that they were already fighting. That's it.
Even if like Florence got like far more enraged and was like going on a revenge spree even. But it's like...
Right? Yes.
Okay.
Have it trigger something. It did nothing. It did nothing to further the plot. It was completely unnecessary.
Yeah. And I think too, I feel like people care about the death more just because it's Carla Gugino. Like, you just like the second you saw her, you're like, oh my God, love her so much. But like, they did nothing for her character development. Like, I cry at everything. Lee knows this. Every person who's ever heard this podcast knows. I did not.
Oh my God, did you not cry when she died?
Cry when she died. I swear to God, it was like a small, like, I felt like a little feeling behind my eyes, and I was like, what is this? And nothing came out.
Aww.
I know. And like,
that is
I kind of love that
tragic.
though, because wow, you do cry at everything. And what does that tell you about how little we knew about Madeline's character? That it not even that could do it.
Well, I thought, so I had, Twitter always ruins everything, but it's fine. Like, one of the reasons we wanted to do this is because Twitter is the Twitter is talking all about this film. But like somebody said something about Bury Your Gaze, but I didn't. I saw it and then I was like, oh God, I don't want to see it. So I knew somebody was going to die, but I didn't know who. And I feel like they should have killed Scarlet if they were going to kill anyone.
Yeah.
Because like,
Yeah, that's fair. She's the one who has to atone for whatever the heck she has to atone for.
yeah, I mean, it still makes no sense, but like, oh, someone's going to die. I was like, oh, the mom's going to die because she just finally got reunited with her daughter and like they finally have a relationship and then she dies and her daughter's like, oh, I love you, Mom, and blah. Like, that would have been a little more emotionally interesting. Not that I want her to die at all, but
It would have
it
felt
just
like
made
it
no sense.
actually did something for the story. Like, you know, especially if Scarlett gets to die saving her daughter or atoning or, you know, fixing her mistakes or something. That's something.
Yeah, like I thought in the big battle there was going to be a moment where Sam almost dies and then Scarlett's like, no, my baby, and then she's dead. But no. Just this
But no.
Just this machine gun wasn't enough for one man.
Hey, to be fair, he was, you know, on the other side of a wall. So, I mean, foolproof plan. What was she supposed to do?
Also, like,
Yeah,
I do not believe
it was disappointing.
I do not believe for a second that Madeline is that much of an idiot to keep shooting the machine gun when she doesn't even see the whites of his eyes.
Yes, no, absolutely not.
Do you know what I mean?
That
Like she was
also
shooting a machine gun into
reminds
empty
me-
air.
Yeah. I'm just going to waste all of my bullets shooting at nothing. I have an important question while we're on Madeline still. Madeline and Florence, I guess. What do you think she whispered in her ear in that super important, pivotal, slow-mo scene that we get no insight into or information about, and yet we spent, you know, like a solid 30 seconds watching Florence lean in and whisper in her ear, and Madeline smiles. What did she say? What do we think?
Man, I just Googled it, and apparently, like, the actors kind of made up something amongst themselves. I honestly don't know. Like, it's super random. And, like, you know, I feel like everything else in this movie, it's kind of style over substance. It's just like they want to have a placeholder thing there that they can be like, you know, something really meaningful happened, but we don't need to know what it is because we're just going on to
But
the
that's
next
why
action
I
scene.
think, like, let's headcanon it. In your version, what does she whisper? Do you have a thought, Ellie? What would she whisper in her ear if you were writing the movie?
I feel like she just says, don't forget the machine gun. No, I was like, I mean, the most obvious thing is just like, I love you, whatever. But
I love that you're going so sweet with it. And, like, what does it tell you? Because I made Kelsey watch this with me. Kelsey leans over to me and she was like, so what does she whisper in her ear? Like, think of all the sex we'll have after this.
oh my God. I also
Just gonna slaughter some men, and then
I also just like to
take
think
you right
of
to
like
bed.
all these men in the editing room who are like, oh, what a tasteful, beautiful lesbian moment. Look, we did it. We did it, men. We gave
did it.
we gave
They have a They have the "We Did It" banner behind them. Mission accomplished.
look at we gave the gays what they want.
In a
Yeah.
movie where nobody ever is canonically confirmed as gay, yeah, that would be peak way to do it.
There's an article on Den of Geek where they talked to the director who also co-wrote the script and asked him about the whisper and asked him about like the queer subtext in the movie. And he said, there are deeper, more valuable connections that we wanted to portray in a very, very subtle way. We wanted to
Ew.
create this rich history between the characters. The moment you see them, you understand it goes deeper and longer, and that there are emotions that have been bottled up for so many years. And he says that, you know, there was definitely something going on with Anime and Scarlet, and they weren't trying to avoid this. And they have great chemistry, but only the actors know what Florence is whispering to Madeline in this moment. The producers wanted me to tell them, but no one else knows. So the actors just had to come up in their own mind with, I think, there was something like, I'm going to bring the baby oil. You know, I've got, I don't even know.
Yes, please come up with something to take my mind off of that quote you just read, because I'm throwing up in my mouth right now a little bit. At like
Man.
how dismissive and somehow strangely phallic imagery can we get in a quote? Like, oh,
Well,
boy.
I mean, let's just talk generally about subtlety. I mean, this entire freaking segment, right, should have been gay, is about all the subtext that people have been throwing at us for years.
Mm-hmm.
For years, okay? We've done episodes on shows from the 1950s. We've done episodes on like things all the way up till now. It is in 2021, I don't want to see subtle queer characters. And subtle queer characters are not queer characters who hold hands once. If you want to write me a subtle queer character, give me Florence and fucking Madeline kissing goodbye. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be like, let's, like, you know what I mean? Or like, give me a flashback scene with Anime and Scarlet, right? Where like Scarlet leaves in the night and Anime's naked in bed. Give me that. That's like
That's
subtle
gay. What we have is subtle nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Like nothing.
What you have are gay characters that you refuse to explicitly make gay, even in a subtle way. While also talking about the deeper, longer, more important connections that people can have with each other. Sir, please. Please. Listen.
Yeah, I'm sorry I found that quote now. I feel like it's just anyway.
Oh, I'm so glad you found it because now I feel so justified in my anger at this
yeah,
film.
it's actually interesting because they really kind of asked him about the queer subtext and he kind of dodged on it in a sad way. I was gonna say my favorite subtext moment is when we first kind of like when Sam first shows up at the library and they're like asking her what type she is, and I feel like that's so loaded with so much like. Oh, I think they like it's almost like they're asking her, I mean, what type she is, like what
Listen,
what
just
she's
tell us
into,
if you're
who
a
she's
sports
into.
gay, like Madeline could use a cottagecore friend. We're both clearly on the masks side of the spectrum. Like, do you like to hang shelves? Do you make your own furniture? Just give us something to go on here, you know?
They're like looking at her guns, which are, that's obviously a very loaded, quote unquote, no pun intended. It's a very loaded image. They're looking at her guns being like, oh, you took good care of these guns. You're romantic. And then she's like, oh, no, I'm not a type. And they're like, everybody has a type, honey. And they're just like, they're just trying to figure out what type she is so they could set her up with one of their cute lady friends. I don't know.
Yeah,
Look, everybody has a type. Let us dig through your I Heart Kittens bag and just find out like what kind of equipment you like to strap on, and let's just talk about it a bit, okay? Just what every good aunt should do.
I was gonna go a little less explicit and just say, it's like astrology gays where they're like, what's your sign and like who's compatible with you. But yeah, agreed. The strap-on analogy also works, Lee.
You're welcome. Happy to help.
Again, they're like handling her like very phallic objects that, in these movies, they're always, guns are always kind of a stand-in for, for the phallus, I guess. And they're talking about like how romantic her handling of them is and how what they can tell about her type from them. So make of that what you will.
If the director's gonna talk about deeper and longer, I think he opened that door and we are allowed to walk through. That's all I know, okay?
Well, she also she has not gotten new weapons in 15 years, right? Maybe not 15 years, but
she likes a classic.
This is the first time she's ever gotten a new weapon. Like that was the point of it, right? Like he was like, you have to give in your old toys that you like have literally held on to for like 10 years. Wait, also, how old is Sam?
That's a good question. She's got to be like later 20s, maybe.
Yeah,
To me, she looks like she's supposed to be like 10-ish in the 15-year back flashback, right?
I was picking her as 12-ish in the 15 years ago flashback. So she's like late 20s. They give Lena Headey this like line where she says, I was very young when I had you, just so that we know that she's, just so that, just to make it clear that Lena's also kind of still young.
I'm gonna guess late 20s, like 30 max. I mean, they're not playing her as more than maybe tweens in that flashback. So
yeah, I would have
said 12.
Yeah, I was confused in the flashback, but I feel like I cannot tell anyone's age anymore. But I was like, why is this 17-year-old Like holding a teddy bear.
Like holding it, yeah. She has a little stuffed tiger or something.
But that
yeah.
makes more sense. That makes way more sense.
Oh Lord. Okay, should we do our ships, Ellie, before we
yes. Or
before we
well,
just rip this movie apart anymore?
Yeah. Is there any other gay things that you wanted to talk about, Charlie, before we go into our ships? Any like gay moments you noticed, or gay things we could have had that didn't happen?
I mean, you know, there's the dudes. There's all the dudes who seem very like, you know, I don't know, they have a very kind of like tight relationship, all of these dudes who like to go around together, especially those three dudes who like are like a set and they just like hang out together and like probably go to like, you know, hot tubbing together, I'm guessing, when they're not like trying to kill people. I don't know. They definitely had a vibe.
They had a
So
very
these some of
intimate
these other
friendship.
I feel like there's just like a ton of dudes in this movie who all kind of look the same and are, you know, they all shop at like Abercrombie and Fitch or whatever, and they're all like
Yeah.
kind of hanging out at like, you know, Toad Hall and like drinking the 2-for-1 drink specials and watching Queer Eye and just like waiting for the call to go kill someone. I don't know. They probably have their own library, like a dude library where it's like all
Oh, I
They
could
have
see
a man
that.
cave.
Yeah. I could
Yep.
definitely see that. I also want to give just like an honorable mention to Rose from the diner.
Yes. Oh my god.
Also, just I'm not gonna give that much context of it. Just same thing, vibe. Just got a vibe.
Vibe. Give us more of Rose and the bisexual diner.
That's
yeah, I
it.
want more of that
That's
story.
it. All right. So, what characters are we shipping? We've talked a little bit about this. I'm gonna say obviously I am hardcore shipping Anime and Scarlet. Like those two need to get over their beef and just get back together.
Okay, and what's the name, Ellie? Hit me.
Oh
Hit us. Do
God,
it.
Scarmay.
Scarmay. Yeah.
It's actually not a bad name.
And Annalette. There's not a lot.
I'm gonna get on the Florence Madeline bandwagon and just maybe the ship name is Flormad. And like, my theory is that, you know, Madeline faked her death. She's actually fine. She's knitting. She's like, you know, knitting a gun cozy somewhere, and she'll be back in the next movie. And she and Florence will be just like, you know, making out in the back row or whatever of the bus.
I'm here for that.
Yes. Look, I also have to honorable mention my polyquad, and I'm gonna call them Scarbarians.
Ooh,
Barbarians.
Scarbarians.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it.
I'm pretty sure they did say that Scarlet was also a librarian
Mhm.
at the end.
They did. I think she was one of the. She was really originally one of them, and then she just ghosted them.
So rude. But
I
So
ship them
rude.
all.
so we think Scarlet was a librarian, and then her oh yeah, because she said she knew them from work, which means she worked with them,
Well, from her husband's work.
and her husband probably
too.
worked at the firm
I
because he was
it's,
murdered.
again, very
Literally, we'll never
unclear.
know.
Literally, who knows? He seems to matter 0%, which feels right for her relationship with the librarian.
Yes. But I feel like we can all agree we want a librarian prequel with just the librarians, Scarlet, and Sam as a baby, and like don't give us anything else. I don't want a sequel if it's not a prequel.
I mostly just want Michelle Yeoh doing gay stuff. I'll be honest. Like, and you know, I kept thinking about the Heroic Trio, which was that amazing. Have you seen Heroic Trio?
Mm-mm.
So, Heroic Trio, if you ever want to see Michelle Yeoh being awesome, it's a Hong Kong film from like 1993 in which she and Anita Mui and Maggie Chung are three superhero ladies who team up to fight crime wearing like little like kind of wearing like leather pants, I think, and little masks and like
I'm adding it to our should have been gay list right now.
I mean, if you want to see Michelle Yeoh and awesome ladies like just teaming up to like
Yes.
kick everybody's butts, that is a great movie. And I feel like it's 1993. It's Hong Kong. I don't know how. I haven't seen it in a million years. I don't remember how on the surface the lesbian subtext in that movie is, but I think that you would find it very interesting. And honestly, Michelle Yeoh just deserves so much better. Like
Yes.
she always deserves better.
Agreed. And we can find the lesbian subtext in
Amazing.
anything, so don't worry. But we all can agree that Gunpowder Milkshake should have been gay.
Should have been gay.
It really should have. Yes, we're going to go into our Q and Gay. Are you ready, Charlie?
I am so ready.
Q and gay.
All right, here we go. Our first question. What's your favorite type of milkshake? A, vanilla, B, chocolate, C, strawberry, or D, swirl?
Oh, I'm gonna go with swirl because that sounds kind of exciting. It sounds very vaguely, I'm gonna go with swirl.
I love it. You're like, it's so fluid.
Best of all
It's so
worlds.
deep. I'm like, that's just our
Yeah.
first question.
It's
Charlie's
so
still
deep
talking for
and
15
so
minutes. Like,
long.
so swirl because I'm part this and part that, and you mix it together. And no, I love it though. I love it.
Swirl. It's the most bisexual milkshake.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yes.
I meant for
Yes,
it.
correct.
Yeah.
Question 2. Who is the gayest librarian? A, Scarlet, B, Florence, C, Madeline, or D, Anime?
Oh, anime, no question.
Yes.
God,
Correct
the
answer.
suits, the suits, the suits.
The suits.
Hello.
I want that suit, man. I want that outfit. She looked dope. I love it.
Question number 3. Would you forgive the woman who killed your father? A, yes. B, no. Or C, if it was Sam?
Man, if it was Sam, if she apologized really nicely and maybe gave me a milkshake or something, I can't be mad at Karen Gillan. I
Yep.
just can't.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard to do it. Question 4. This is a tough one. What's the best fight scene in Gunpowder Milkshake? A, the bowling alley. B, the hospital. C, the library. Or D, the diner?
Oh, I'm definitely gonna go with the hospital. I actually, you know what? I thought that the fight scenes were well done. I liked the fight scenes. I felt like at a certain point, like by the final one but by the library fight scene, I was starting to kind of check out a little bit because it just felt like it was kind of getting repetitive. But I really loved.
Yeah.
I feel like the thing where she can't use her arms is really fun, and it reminded me of the underrated Jackie Chan movie, The Tuxedo, where he has a magic suit, but at one point he's only wearing the pants, so he can only fight with his legs and not his arms. So I don't know. I'm gonna say that the hospital, that was actually a genuinely inventive, fun fight scene.
The hospital scene
It was fun.
good, yeah.
I agree. I think their fight scenes were fun. I think the library, I wish they had just, I feel like if you had shown us more of the library itself, shown us the dioramas to start, shown us some of the books and the stuff that's hiding in them, I feel like you could have made it so much more engaging, than they did.
Really
Instead,
true.
it started kind of to drag because you're just like, but I don't know any of these things that are happening. I guess they're just gonna go and find weapons everywhere. Okay.
Or gold bars.
Or gold bars, yeah.
Or gold bars.
But yeah, the
randomly.
hospital scene was inventive for sure. All right, question number 5, and I'll add another one for you, Lee. Who's your favorite librarian couple? A, Anime and Scarlet, B, Florence and Madeline, or C, all of the above?
I just got to go with all of the above. I mean, I'm increasingly buying into this sort of polyquad theory that Lee was advancing. I think that they were just all, they were all kind of shacking up together, and maybe Scarlett's quote unquote husband was just he just was there to kind of go out and get them milk at the grocery store or whatever. I don't know. He was
Wait,
he
sorry.
was there.
I just had a really important thought, which is because now I don't remember. But did she ever even actually call him her husband? She calls him Sam's father. She talks about Sam's father.
Right. I don't remember.
Right? Do they ever even clarify that relationship? He could have just been like, oh, here's my also very gay best friend who was a donor so that we could have a baby. They don't even say. So
They don't.
We'll never know.
Sperm donor.
Because they'll
Clearly.
they'll never expand on anything in this universe.
I know.
They just wanted the entire universe to be subtle. They want us to make up our own answers for everything.
Our own deeper and longer
Yeah, yeah,
answers. That's all. And that's what we've done here. We've
We have
succeeded.
succeeded.
Deeper
Mission accomplished.
and
We did it.
longer.
Charlie, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me. This was such a blast, and I feel like this is the best way that I can honor that film is to discuss it with both of you and to really, tease out all of the gayness that was kind of, I don't want to say buried, but that was buried in that film.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
I don't
gays
know.
were buried in that
Yeah,
movie.
the gays were
more
really
ways
buried.
than one. Tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can find all of your books, all of your stuff. Where can they go?
Yeah, I'm Charlie Jane on Twitter, just one word. My website is charliejane.com, and on Instagram, I'm Charlie Jane Anders.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you. I had such fun. Thank you guys so much. This was lovely.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 hip,
We love hearing from you and building community, so we want to shout out some of our favorite things each episode. And we would like to shout out Tom Marie Stoltz, who reached out to us on Instagram with a should have been gay suggestion for any movie featuring Devon Sawa in the 90s. Now and Then, Little Giants, Casper, that classic tomboy lesbian. We have done Now and Then, Tom Marie, if you haven't gotten there, listen to that one. But we can agree we love a 90s tomboy vibe.
They are ripe with material for should have been gays every time. We also want to shout out a fun recent response to some of our Q and gays from our first episode of season 5 from one of our favorite potatoes, Ello, who let us know that she has written already 2 things: a magical fantasy book that I'm very excited to read, and that also they're working on a Christmas romance book, which just inject it straight into my veins, please, and thank you. That's all I have to say. So, Ella, we're excited. We want, like the advance release copies whenever they're ready, please. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, and keep creating things, all of you, and let us know when you're creating them and send them our way because it's so cool. As always, we want to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Jess Klaus,
Tanya Ferguson,
Jacqueline Rose Nishino,
Sarah and Julia,
Carrie Ann Lawrence,
Danny Gunlock Tamora,
Brittany Ray,
Alana Rosen,
Lizette Stye,
Stacy,
Adi Benitez,
Fiona W.,
and our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen,
Leah Henley,
Liz Chen,
and Julia Gonzalez.
Thank you all so much. As always, we could not keep doing this podcast without you. Our patrons are just the best.
Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, make sure that you subscribe. That way you'll get new episodes as soon as they go up every week.
Also, make sure you subscribe to The Flame on all your podcasting apps. If you haven't listened to it, you can listen to it for the first time. And if you have listened to it, we know you've listened to it many, many times. So keep listening.
We also are going to have videos going up on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod to catch those.
If you want to support the podcast, the cheapest way to do that is to rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps other people find the podcast.
If you want to support us financially, you can join our Patreon at bit.ly/lespatreon. It helps us make the podcast. It's going to help us actually pay Ellie and Kristen for all of the time that they're spending doing all the cool things, like editing the podcast and getting us guests and stuff. And you get some cool perks like ad-free episodes and access to our super cool exclusive Discord channel and all sorts of fun stuff that we do in there. So I'm just saying, check it out. That's all I'm saying.
If you want to help support The Flame as well, you can join our Flame Patreon at bit.ly/theflamepatreon. That will help us bring The Flame to the stage and also make an entirely new musical for next season, which is going to be very exciting.
If you want to find our merch, we have merch and all of our designs for both Let's Hang Out and The Flame that you can find on our TeePublic. We have all sorts of designs and you can get them on t-shirts, on tank tops, on sweatshirts, on totes, on all sorts of cool stuff. You can find it at bit.ly/lesshop.
If you want to find us individually, you can find me at Ellie Brigida on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee.
And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Buffet brawlers, glory holes gone wrong, cannibalistic castration cabins, public poopers? These are just a few of the crazy topics you'll hear covered on Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the pettiest podcast around. Whether you need a break from all that murdery true crime stuff, or just enjoy hearing hilarious stories told in a unique way, I got what you need. I'm Leroy Luna, your fearless host/chauffeur. So come hop in my minivan and let's go for a ride. I promise you probably won't be disappointed. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, basically everywhere you consume podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th of the month, baby!